All right, today we've got an incredible story for you. It's about a brilliant piece of military deception from World War II, but what's really amazing is that we can trace its strategic roots back thousands of years.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 1942. It's only been a few months since the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the United States is, frankly, on its back foot. The entire fate of the war in the Pacific, well, it hangs on just two letters. AF.
Now, American codebreakers had pulled off something incredible. They had cracked the Japanese naval code. So they could actually read secret Japanese communications, and they knew a massive attack was on the horizon. The problem? They knew what was coming, but they had no idea where. The target was just a code name, AF.
And believe me, this wasn't a small disagreement. Out in Hawaii, a team led by Major Joseph Rochefort was absolutely convinced AF was Midway Atoll. But back in Washington, D.C., the top brass, well, they were just as sure it was the Aleutian Islands, way up by Alaska. And getting this wrong, it would be a total catastrophe. You'd be sending the entire U.S. Pacific Fleet to the wrong place at the worst possible time.
So Rochefort and his team, they start digging. They go through mountains of old messages and find this one little clue, a potential breakthrough. It was an older message about a Japanese flight to Pearl Harbor that mentioned needing to avoid air patrols from AF. Well, you look at a map and geographically, the only place that makes sense is Midway. It was a really strong hint, but it wasn't proof. So here's the million-dollar question. How could they be 100% sure?
Okay, and this is where the story gets just brilliant. You can't exactly call up the enemy and ask where they're planning to attack, right? No, you have to trick them into telling you. And one of Rochefort's analysts, a guy named Jasper Holmes, he comes up with this just exceptionally clever plan. The plan itself was so simple, but that's what made it ingenious. Okay, step 1, have the base on Midway send out a fake distress call. Step 2, send that message in plain, unencrypted English over a channel they knew for a fact the Japanese were monitoring. And then, step 3, just wait and listen to see if the Japanese military mentions it in their own secret coded messages.
And this was the bait. It was a message that sounded, kind of boring but urgent, all about a broken freshwater purifier on Midway. It was designed to sound completely authentic to any Japanese intelligence officers listening in. The trap was set. Now, all they could do was wait.
And then, just a few days later, it happened. A brand new Japanese message sent in that same JN25 code gets picked up by American listening posts. The codebreakers in Hawaii jump on it immediately. And let me tell you, this is the exact moment that changed the entire course of the war.
What they decoded was a total bombshell. It said that AF was short on fresh water and that the coming attack force should prepare for it. The Japanese had taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. They'd heard the fake American message, believed it, and were now changing their own secret plans because of it. Incredible.
That was it. That was the absolute rock-solid proof they needed. The debate was officially over. The U.S. Navy's commander, Admiral Nimitz, now knew exactly where the Japanese were going, and more importantly, he knew where to set his ambush.
So, with this game-changing intelligence, Nimitz could completely ignore the Japanese decoy attack way up in the Aleutians. He knew it was a fake-out. Instead, he gathered all his forces near Midway. So when the Japanese fleet showed up expecting a cakewalk, they sailed right into a perfectly laid trap. The result was a jaw-dropping American victory that completely turned the tide of the war in the Pacific.
It really is an amazing story of intelligence and pure ingenuity, right? But what if I told you that the strategic thinking behind this whole plan wasn't actually new? What if it was part of a system, a playbook, developed thousands of years before?
All right, so now we're going to jump way back in time. We're talking about 2,500 years ago. We're going from the Pacific Ocean in 1942 all the way to ancient China, around 500 BCE. This is the time of the legendary military strategist Sun Tzu, the man who wrote The Art of War.
So in his famous book, Sun Tzu lays out this concept we can call the 4 methods of knowing. And this isn't about just sitting back and spying. No, this was a proactive playbook. It's all about forcing your opponent to show their hand, to reveal what they're thinking and what they're going to do next.
So what are these 4 methods? Well, you've got analyze, which is about understanding their plans. Then there's provoke, where you force a reaction to see their patterns. Next is deceive, creating a false picture to make them reveal their true position. And finally, probe, where you do small tests to check their strength. Now think back to our story. The Midway deception? That was a perfect textbook example of the provoke method. The U.S. made a move,
that fake message, which forced a Japanese reaction, and that reaction confirmed their analysis that AF was indeed mid.
And look, Sun Tzu's methods weren't just for ancient warlords or World War II admirals. These ideas, the principles of actively making your opponent reveal their hand, they're absolutely timeless. And they're still being used today, everywhere from geopolitics to the business world and way beyond.
For a more modern example, take a look at an incident back in 2016. The Chinese Navy captured a U.S. underwater drone. Now, the author of our source material here suggests that you could see this as a modern example of that probe method in action. You know, a small-scale test to gauge reactions and maybe gather a little intelligence.
So, if you want to apply these ancient methods today, it really boils down to 3 key ideas. First, be proactive. Don't just wait around and react. Second, be clever. You have to skillfully mix truth with falsehood. And third, be comprehensive. Don't just use one method. Combine all 4 to get the best, clearest picture of what your opponent is really up to.
And again, this really isn't just about warfare. Just think about it in a business context. Imagine a company trying to figure out what a competitor's secret new product is. They could probe by floating a strategic rumor to see how the other company responds. Or they could provoke by launching a small similar product just to gauge their rival's reaction. See, these principles are absolutely everywhere.
And that really brings us to the core of this whole powerful idea. You see, true strategy isn't just about having a better plan for yourself. It's about developing smarter ways to discover the plans of others. So the question to leave you with is this. When the stakes are really high, how can you subtly make your opponent show you their hand?